morning, day 2. I'm gonna leave Hokuri Hut now. I just wanted to pay a brief little farewell. Whoever comes next, I've left you a Kit Kat bar on top of the logbook. So this has been a lovely little respite in the wilderness. And now we begin a big long day. We gotta cover 23 kilometers. So it's gonna be, I think, broken into 2 sections. The Demon Trail Hut is kind of the first waypoint. And from there, it's still gonna be another 13.6 kilometers to get to Lake Alabaster Hut, which is my intended destination for today. I do have, I think it's Macaro Island Hut as a backup alternative in case I get a bit tuckered out before Lake Alabaster. So I was reading a bit more about the Jamestown settlement when I was at the hut, and my numbers were a little off yesterday. I think it was between 70 and 100 people that came to settle. So there was an actual town that was surveyed by the government, and people were given lots of land out there in the hopes that they were going to be able to bring ships in from the west coast. But what ended up happening is the ship that brought the settlers in actually ran aground in the bar at the passage, and though everybody made it off okay, a lot of their stuff was lost. So right from the get-go, they had a real hard time. There was another supply ship that ran aground, and so then captains started to get pretty nervous about landing in Jamestown. After that, there was a plan to connect Jamestown with Wanaka, so this would have actually been an integrated part of New Zealand, and people would have been living out here. But it didn't happen after the ship started running aground. Eventually supplies got through, but what ended up happening is people took lots of land away from Jamestown and abandoned that settlement, moved a little bit further west, which is where I started my track yesterday. And bit by bit, all the settlers started to sell out their lots. I think until the very last one, Davy Gunn bought the last little lot of land, had some cattle, and I think the rest of it got reincorporated into New Zealand park systems, which is obviously what it is today. Hearing a red deer call. See if he goes again. Oh, there we go. There are deer everywhere on this trip. Everywhere you go. It's the downside of no predators, is that people are largely responsible for keeping the deer and elk and red stag populations down. I hear some big water up ahead. I'm guessing that might be one of the either a 3-wire bridge or something similar. Yeah, there it is. Should be good. There's a term I use, I think a lot of hikers use it, but so don't pack your fears. So if you're nervous about being cold, you tend to overpack warm layers. If you're worried about being hungry, you pack too much food, etc., etc. I definitely overpack with food. I'm just not hungry when I do these big hikes. Oh my gosh, I think there's a rifleman. Hey, little guy. That's one of my favorite birds. Smallest bird in New Zealand. It's just the size of like a really big bumblebee. There's my little friend. Little fantail is back. 3-wire bridge crossing number 3. This one definitely has a bit of height to it. Now, about my feet, interestingly enough today, they're actually doing great. The blisters that had started to form yesterday are no longer bugging me, and I think it was because of my socks. So I was blaming my boots, but I think my boots are innocent. And so from this morning, my feet are doing great, which allows me to focus exclusively on my sore knee. I like this big old sentinel looking over the path. Those rocks were very slippery. Let's see, looks like somebody might have made a camp up there at some point. Well, at least they've left a big old tarp. Huh. It's a shame they left the tarp behind. I'm already kind of maxed out, otherwise it'd be good to haul it back out. Whew. I am hoping that we're getting close though. We'll see. No GPS signal in a while, but maybe kilometer left to Demon Trail Hut. Well, I'm looking forward to my little lunch there. Be good. We're just going straight for it. I just startled a red stag. You can hear him crashing through the bush. We made very brief eye contact. Couldn't quite see how. Oh, there he is. Good eye, old fella. All right, the Demon Trail Hut at last. I'm gonna give you a quick tour, and then I'm gonna have myself a lunch, and then I'm gonna hit the trail again because it is now 10 after 2, which means I've taken a good just about 6 hours to get here, which is on the upper end of what Doc estimated. So if I'm gonna make the next stage of my journey with any sunlight left, I'm gonna have to step to it pretty quick. All right, not actually sure if there's anybody here, but I guess we'll find out shortly. Look at that. What's the inside of this beast? Oh yeah, that's a nice hut. Got a pretty nice kitchen. Decent sized bunkhouse. Oh. That there is one heck of a view. Right through those trees, you might not be able to see it, is the end of the lake. So we've been walking along this thing for a couple of days now. Spectacular views. A lovely little hut. The tiny part of me that's just tempted to stick here for the night. Well, I'm gonna push on. So getting into the Demon Trail track itself. Now, I can kind of understand why they called it that. I wouldn't say it's evil, but it is annoying. That track, it just undulates constantly, goes up and down. Just when you get to a flat section, you think it might be getting a little easier. Suddenly, you just get a detour. There's a log in the way. You have to crawl over it. You have to go up real slippery rocks. A lot of the track itself follows stream beds, wire crossings. I mean, it is really a bit of a scramble. So if the next section of trail is like that, well, in all likelihood, I'll probably make camp at McCarroll Island Hut. But I'm thinking that it isn't going to be like that because this is a more frequented hut. because it's quite beautiful. Hopefully I'm not jinxing myself here, but this is already a way nicer trek. It's actually a trek, you know? I think if I was reading correctly, that path, the Demon Trail, is an old cattle path, although I don't really know what kind of cattle they were driving up that track unless it was mountain goats. And here we have ourselves another 3-wire bridge. Outstanding. What kind of track is that? That looks almost like a dog track. It's funny because earlier I could have sworn I smelled a dog. I don't think that there are feral dogs in Fiordland, but you never know. All right, I've now been going for about an hour and 20 minutes since Demon Trail Hut. And the big decision is whether I attempt to push on with at least 2 hours in the dark, or whether I detour and head to Lake McCarrow Hut, which is supposedly only another 40 minutes up the trail. And I think I will probably do Lake McCarrow, because though tomorrow will be a longer day, it's only 9 hours, which will roughly equate to what I've done today. So yeah, I'm definitely happy that I'm only going to McCarrow Island Hut tonight. Looks like this is a piece of the trail that's been washed out, because I can see up ahead a little orange marker over there. So there's another big piece of track washout. Back in that woods there, same thing. This has actually been some of the worst track that I've encountered thus far, in terms of just, you know, being washed out and having to detour. I've had to double back a couple of times just to keep an eye out for those orange triangles. So yeah, definitely not going to Lake Alabaster Hut tonight. I imagine I'm not too far off of McCarrow Island Hut, so I will check back in, hopefully in the junction. Well, it would seem that fate has made my decision for me, since it looks like one of those washed out tracks back there actually led to McCarrow Island Hut. So, rather than doubling back, since I'm not sure if I can actually make it out to the hut without having to do a nighttime river crossing, which I'm certainly not going to do, I'm already 3 hours into a 5-hour journey, so might as well just keep on pushing on. I think there's like a primordial urge to go seek shelter when the dark sets, but you can sort of relax and overcome that. Nighttime is actually a beautiful time to be in the forest. Got a little emergency bivvy if I need to set up camp. Also have plenty of juice left in the battery bank, and pretty much fully charged head torch, so I should have hours of light ahead of me. So not worried. per se. Well, now, here we find ourselves at a bit of an adventure once again. I will now need to cross this 3-wire bridge at night. Just found some evidence of human life. Looks like maybe a rubbish bag fell out of somebody's pack, so I guess I'll pull that up and add it to the collection. Well, I've just come across this big old bridge. It is a long bridge. It's just crossed over 10 p.m. So that's me on the go for 14 hours. Yeah, that's good. Oh, look what I see looming up out of the darkness. That is a dock sign. And welcome it is. Look at that. Lake Alabaster Hut, 15 minutes. Beautiful. These huts have a way of just like springing up out of the woods. No walking sticks, no boots. Let's take a look. Empty. Empty. Well, I'll be darned. Looks like I got this place to myself. If you can't tell, I'm very happy to be here. I'll tell you what, that was a big day. I did think for a second I might have to pitch a bivvy in the woods, which I really didn't want to do because that just would have been wet and cold and uncomfortable. So I'm very happy that we pushed along and got here to Lake Alabaster Hut. It was almost as good as coming home. Man, it was nice to see this hut. Even nicer to see that once again I got it to myself. So I'll give you the grand tour in the morning. In the meantime, good night.